Hello everyone, welcome to Under the Covers. Today I'm going to be getting under the covers of I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. It was originally published in 1954, but the edition I have came out much later. And this edition is 117 pages, but 170 pages of that is the novel, and the other pages are short stories that Matheson wrote throughout his writing career. It follows the story of Robert Neville and his life after a vampire epidemic where he is the last remaining human on Earth, and it follows his life, his what he does to survive and what he does to hunt the vampires that are living around him. Some of you may be familiar with the films I Am Legend, starring Will Smith, or The Omega Man, starring Charlton Heston, and there's a couple other ones. I think one starring Vincent Price, called The Last Man on Earth, and then another one called I Am Omega, which came out before the I Am Legend movie starring Will Smith. Well, this novel blows all of them out of the water. The closest one I could think of that is good, well, I've only seen The Omega Man and I've seen I Am Legend starring Will Smith, and the one with Will Smith is probably the best adaptation that I've seen. But even then, it pales in comparison to the novel. A lot of people would consider this a vampire novel, but I think it's more of a what we would consider as a zombie novel or a zombie story, because there's this theme of being isolated, isolating yourself away from everyone else who has became a vampire or a zombie. And a lot of zombie tales have that, where the person is isolated. And this is what Neville does. He isolates himself in his home, and his life becomes very repetitive and very meticulous. And if you think your life is repetitive or meticulous of just the everyday routines that you go through, Neville's is much more repetitive and much more meticulous. And Matheson does a great job of showing that in this novel. Matheson also goes into great detail about the science and the psychology of the vampires, about how the diseases spread, why the vampires are afraid of what they're afraid of, what repels them. And it's something that, was different at the time of the vampire novel, because not many novels really went into the psychology of the vampire and what makes them what they are and how they became what they are. And it also goes into the psychology of Neville, about his loneliness and his desire for a female companion, and what vices he turns to, being the only human left on Earth. And the end of the novel is what I think is one of the best endings of a novel that I've read. I don't want to spoil it because it's very good. The whole novel is very good, and I don't want to ruin it. So I want you to read it for yourself. To relate it to another book, or to compare it to another book, I would say it's kind of like Robinson Crusoe meets Night of the Living Dead, because Crusoe, he goes through these routines every day to build his society, or his one-man society, and Neville does, the same thing. Every day he has to repair his house. Every day he has to, check every little detail of his house so he's safe. And, that's, that I connected those two in that sort of way. And I also connected to Night of the Living Dead because they board themselves into a house. Granted, there's more than one person, but it's that same motif of isolating yourself for survival, and which I think a lot of zombie writers and a lot of later writers do. It also reminds me of what's that comic, the graphic novel with the vampires? 30 Days of Night, I believe it's called, where, at least in the movie anyways, where they, they kind of have to board themselves in, and it borrows a lot from Matheson, and I think that's why this novel is so good, is because it's been referenced to or alluded to in so much more modern literature or movies or television, that I think it really helps this novel stand the test of time and show how inspirational it is to people. So with that said, it's time for a rating, and I'm gonna have to give it 5 out of 5 stars. The only complaints I had was I kind of wish it was a little bit longer. I think Matheson could have went into a little bit more of Neville's past. There's a little bit of flashbacks here and there, but I really think he could have went more into Neville's past and introduced so many more different elements of the story. But I don't think that was Matheson's true goal. I think his true goal was to show the isolation and the loneliness of Neville, and he did a great job in showing that. So I'm gonna have to give it 5 out of 5 stars because it was awesome, and I really recommend everyone goes out and reads this. And if you have read it, let me know what you think in the comments, because I would like to have a conversation about this novel with people. And so yeah, that's it. 5 out of 5 stars. I Am Legend by Robert Matheson. Next book I will be reviewing is this one right here, Will Grayson by John Green and David Levithan. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for tuning in, and see you later.